Happy Mother's Day, folks. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and welcome to my review of the May 10th, 2024 edition of WWE Friday Night SmackDown. Hope you guys are having a great weekend, enjoying your Mother's Day. Of course, for anyone who follows the channel, and hopefully most of you do, I do these reviews every Saturday for the most part. Not yesterday, though. I was busy, out all day yesterday. Congrats to Alexis on graduating, so we were busy with that. So we're having it go up today on Sunday. We did not do a SmackDown audio review last week, due to the fact that the pay-per-view was on Saturday, Backlash aired so early in the afternoon. That's going to be the case not next weekend, but the weekend after that as well. So no SmackDown review in 2 weeks over King and Queen of the Ring weekend. Money in the Bank weekend won't be a problem because I should be able to do the review that weekend. The pay-per-view on July 6th in Canada is not until like fucking 8 o'clock on Saturday. The Clash of the Castle pay-per-view is another early one in the afternoon on Saturdays. And it's not really worth doing a review because when I typically do these reviews on Saturdays, it's when those pay-per-views are going on. It's typically around that time that the pay-per-views would be airing. So I don't do pay-per-view or rather SmackDown reviews on those weekends, last week included. King and Queen of the Ring weekend included as well. But we are doing one here this weekend, one day removed from when I normally do it, but nonetheless, I thought it was a good show. It was all about the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments kicking off. We did also find out Cody Rhodes' opponent for the King and Queen of the pay-per-view, King and Queen of the Ring pay-per-view coming up at the end of the month in Saudi Arabia. His WWE Undisputed Championship challenger. And it was an unexpected surprise, but there is one aspect of that match I'm not a fan of, so we'll get into that. But like I said, a majority of the show kind of centered around, as it should have, the King and Queen of the Ring matches. Now, a lot like on Raw, they did not do 4 matches for the men and 4 matches for the women. They did 3 each. And even that I was surprised by because they did 3 each on Raw as well. And a majority of that show also centered around the tournaments, and as they should be. I was at that show, enjoyed that show. I wasn't sure if it would be the same thing on this show because SmackDown is 2 hours. Raw is 3. So they didn't have as much time for each of the matches. Raw definitely had the better matches on Monday, but this wasn't a bad show. A lot of obvious outcomes, no real surprises, but it was an enjoyable show overall, I thought, moving stuff forward, heading into the pay-per-view in 2 weeks' time. Less than 2 weeks at this point, which is kind of crazy because we just had Backlash last week. And that's what we're going to be dealing with, too. We have 3 weeks between Backlash and King and Queen of the Ring. 3 weeks between King and Queen of the Ring and Clash of the Castle. And then another 3 weeks between Clash of the Castle and Money in the Bank. So a lot of short turnaround times. That's just the way the schedule works out so far in 2024. I don't love that. It makes for a lot of rushed builds for pay-per-views. I know 3 and 4 weeks, like, oh, not that big of a deal. It's only one fucking week. It does kind of make a big deal. 4 weeks is ideal. 3 weeks, like you're going from the follow-up show from the last pay-per-view, an interim show, and then the go-home show. I feel like having 2 interim shows makes more sense, but again, that's just the way the schedule worked out this time of the year. So it is what it is. But we open the episode with Cody Rhodes out in the ring with Nick Aldis to introduce Cody Rhodes' next challenger for the championship after beating AJ Styles. Now, I did think coming out of Backlash we might get a rematch between AJ and Cody. He did beat AJ decisively, but that match was so good I would not have minded a round 2 at King and Queen of the Ring. We are not getting that, though. AJ was in the King of the Ring tournament on the show. Lost that match, spoiler alert, but more on that later. It didn't really seem all that likely, because if you lost to Orton, how do you explain him getting another fucking shot after already losing to Cody 2 last Saturday? And LA Knight, if you want to go back even further than that, not in the number 1 contenders match, but at WrestleMania the month prior. So, didn't make a whole lot of sense. They move forward. We're getting Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes in Saudi Arabia. Now, on one hand, that makes a lot of sense as a Saudi Arabian match. He's from Saudi Arabia, but in the sense that he's an attraction as Logan Paul. They've used him in Saudi Arabia before. He's actually wrestled on, 2 or 3 different Saudi shows? I think 2. So they had him at it was 2. I'm thinking maybe he was at Elimination Chamber 2 years ago, in early 2022. That was when it became clear that Miz might use him as his partner, but I don't think that was revealed on that show. That was revealed on the Raw the following week. But he was at Crown Jewel, of course, in 2022, 18 months ago against Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship on that show. Came up short, but it was a great match. And then he actually beat Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship that he currently holds, that he's defended twice in all of 6 months. Not all overly surprising. The guy doesn't wrestle on SmackDown. I thought he might coming out of WrestleMania because he did have that one SmackDown match against The Miz to qualify for Elimination Chamber in February. And he lost in the Chamber. He beat Miz in the qualifier. But he didn't defend his championship between Mania and the Royal Rumble, or rather Royal Rumble and Mania, which is fine, but he wasn't at Backlash. Again, okay. We have not seen Logan Paul, aside from that one draft show, randomly for whatever reason. He's obviously from Ohio. So that was why, but didn't really set up anything. Ricochet's on the other show. He didn't interact with Ricochet. It was actually Jey Uso is what I'm thinking of, and Braun Strowman. Again, all on Raw. So that segment really didn't make much of a difference. But his first appearance on SmackDown, I believe, since Mania before Mania. He's facing Cody Rhodes for the championship at King and Queen of the Ring. A match I've been looking forward to for a while because I feel like they're going to work really, really well together. Logan Paul, regardless of what you think of the guy, consistently delivers in the ring. Some matches are better than others, but the triple threat at Mania was great. The Owens match at the Rumble was good. The aforementioned Roman Reigns match was great. The matches with Seth Rollins, that one Rollins match at Mania last year, was excellent as well. He's had some really, really good matches. Even the Ricochet match at SummerSlam last year was really, really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of match they can have in Saudi Arabia. And also the dynamic too. Logan Paul, again, regardless of what you think of him, gets a lot of heat. He plays that heel role so fucking well. And Cody Rhodes, of course, getting the most beloved babyface reaction of anyone on the roster. He's so fucking over every single week. Leon France, it doesn't matter. Here in wherever they were on this show, he was incredibly over in front of this audience as well. And they had a very good back and forth. I thought Rhodes cut a good promo. Logan Paul's promo was really good. One of Logan Paul's better promos. They're having a contract signing for this match on next week's show. What they did not make clear, though, and it's implied that it will this champion versus champion match be for both belts? I was led to believe, based on what they said, that it will be. Based on two things. One, Cody Rhodes literally outright said, I have never become a Grand Slam champion before, and to do so, I would need to win that United States Championship. I'm of the old school, Grand Slam mindset of, and I know the championships have not been around for 2 fucking decades, but I'm going off of the mindset of, you gotta be a European champion or a former European champion, or what was the other one? Fucking hardcore champion from the late 90s, early 2000s. They haven't had those belts in forever, so adjusting the rules for the modern day Grand Slam makes sense. But what does that even mean anymore? Rhodes has never been the world heavyweight champion. That's an active world championship in the company. Would that not count as a Grand Slam? Their fucking rules for this shit just don't make any sense. But that's what he said. I just don't think he would say that in his promo if they were not planning on putting that championship on the line as well. In addition to the fact that when the segment ended, they both held up their belts. Like it was John Cena and CM Punk back at going into SummerSlam 2011 when they were both champions. I know people were making the comparison of Cena and Rollins. Oh, that was so great. It was great. It was a good build, a great match, and Rollins won. But that made sense to me, though. That made sense to me. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense in retrospect because they put both belts on Rollins in a shocker. I thought Cena might win his 16th champion on that show. He did not. It made fucking zero sense to have Rollins champion from... For Cena to win both belts would have made less sense because Cena should not have been a world champion back in 2015. But at the very least, they put both belts on Rollins. It was a great moment. They put the belt right back on Cena a month fucking later. So again, what was the point? What was the point? Don't even put the United States Championship on the line at that point. In this match, same thing. I don't like either outcome. And anyone trying to say, maybe they do a fuck finish. Why? Why would they do a fuck finish in the main event of the pay-per-view? Honestly, I was talking with someone on Friday who made the comment, what if they don't have Rhodes defend the pay-per-view? What if they give him the night off and they focus more on the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments? That would be fine, but Cody Rhodes just won the championship. I know he defended it at Backlash a week ago, but they probably want to have him on every pay-per-view going forward. He is the face of the company. Cena, as the face of the company, never missed any pay-per-views for the most part, especially while he was champion. Could they wait until Clash to have him defend again or have him defend on SmackDown in the meantime? Yeah. And have him face someone else in the meantime? I just don't know who else that would be. The big question coming into SmackDown is who is next to challenge Cody Rhodes? AJ was done. Baron Corbin, Probably not right now. Hayes, he already beat a month ago. The Rock ain't coming back anytime soon. Roman Reigns will not be back anytime soon. Solo Sikoa, no. There really weren't a whole lot of options. Orton, not right now. Owens, probably not. He wasn't even on SmackDown this week. They kind of implied he was taken out by the Bloodline with the finish of the pay-per-view. Okay. Logan Paul's a great option. I just don't like the fact that both belts are on the line. I think that's stupid because if you put both belts on the line and you are expected to deliver a clean finish, maybe they do a dusty finish, but again, that would be fucking dumb. They've done dusty finishes in the main events of these pay-per-views before, but it's cheap. Maybe to set up a rematch or Clash at the Castle, but again, what would be the end game? If they're already doing a double title match for both belts on this show, why would they then run it back at the following show for only one of the championships? Again, that just doesn't make sense. It really should not be for both belts. Cody Rhodes does not need that United States Championship. That belt should have been around not Logan Paul. It already is around Logan Paul's waist. It should have been around LA Knight's waist a long time ago. Really, at WrestleMania, they didn't do it? Okay. I thought they might do it at Backlash. Maybe. They didn't. People are saying maybe SummerSlam. But in order to do it at SummerSlam, you have to keep the belt on Logan Paul until then. Now, could they have him lose it and then win it back? Yeah, but again, what's the fucking point? What is the point, like with Rollins 9 years ago, of having Rhodes win both, to become a Grand Slam champion? Who gives a shit? No one cares. I love Cody. He shouldn't be dropping the WWE title either at this point. Why would he drop it to Logan Paul just over a month after beating Roman Reigns to win it? Again, stupid. So I don't know how they expect to book themselves out of this corner, but I guess we'll find out come the event. The rest of the show, like I said, was focused entirely on the King and Queen of the Ring tournament matches. I think that was the only other thing that we got on the show. We did get Solo and Paul Heyman backstage at one point. I should mention this before I forget. We did see them at backstage at one point, and Paul Heyman mentioned that, as he said a couple weeks ago, he did not and has not talked to Roman Reigns since WrestleMania. Solo confronted him. They did not talk to him last week about this, I guess, but he was pretty pissed at Paul from 2 weeks ago for pulling Roman Reigns out of the draft because it cost the Bloodline money. Roman Reigns, he made him ineligible. That was a Paul Heyman call. Oh, that's why he didn't talk about it to him. He didn't talk to him about it last week because he told Nick Aldis last week that he made Roman Reigns. It was his idea to make Roman ineligible for the draft. So Solo confronts him on this show and says, listen, Paul. And again, why they would wait until Friday when he saw him on Sunday, I don't know. But he said, listen, Paul, you doing that cost us our spot in the draft on SmackDown. I mean, they're still on SmackDown, but they were drafted in the third round and not the first round. He was acting all trepidatious, was Paul. And Solo said, you haven't talked to Roman, but I have. And he said, I'm the tribal chief now in his absence. It was basically what he said. I thought he might say something about The Rock, because he kind of made it sound like a couple weeks ago when Tama Tonga debuted that it came at the order of the tribal chief. He didn't say who the tribal chief was, though. Was it him? Was it the debuting Jacob Fatu? Was it The Rock? He never said. So he did say here he is the new tribal chief without Roman Reigns there. Clearly he is fucking lying, but I'm loving the storyline. They're doing a really good job of furthering that. So like I said, the rest of the show is all about the King and Queen of the Ring first round matches. This is the disadvantage of having a show within 3 weeks. I'm glad they're doing it at all, obviously. And the tournaments do have star power, and it's not the fucking mid-card jobbers of what it's been in the past. So I like that. The matches are getting some time. The main event was the only match on the show that really got time, but there were some other good matches on the show. The first round match in the Queen of the Ring tournament, Nia Jax battling Naomi. This actually was another really good match on the show. They didn't get a ton of time, but they made the most of the time they did have. This exceeded expectations. I thought they worked well together. The crowd was really behind Naomi. They were very much behind or anti-Nia Jax as a heel. I thought they worked really well together. Again, Nia Jax has been having some quality matches since coming back to the company. This one being no exception. I thought she did well. Her beating Naomi was the right outcome. Naomi looking good in defeat. They were really hot for Naomi here, so I enjoyed this. Another really good King of the Ring first round tournament match here between Carmelo Hayes and Baron Corbin. I thought it was odd that they were paired up against each other in the first round because they're two NXT call-ups. Now, Baron Corbin obviously having been on the main roster before, but he just got brought back to the main roster. So again, kind of feeling like a fresh face again. Carmelo Hayes, first time on the SmackDown roster full time. He did make several appearances earlier this year. But I thought it was weird they were paired up against each other. But they ended up having, first of all, a very good match. Second of all, Carmelo winning had to happen because he just lost to Cody Rhodes a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. We already talked about that 2 weeks ago here on the show, on my SmackDown review. So he had to win here. 3, Baron Corbin coming across like a really good babyface. The crowd was kind of into him, came out to his NXT music, not the one from 10 years ago, but the one that he was using recently in NXT. He was slapping hands of fans. I don't know if that's going to be a consistent thing, but he was a babyface towards the end of his NXT run with Braun Breaker, doing the whole Wolf Dogs thing. So he might be a babyface on SmackDown, which kind of surprised me. I thought he might be a heel. Carmelo should probably be a heel if he's going to turn on Trick and do that whole thing. He might as well carry the hot heel momentum from NXT to the main roster. But I thought they worked well together here. No surprise for two guys that worked very well together in that NXT Championship match at that Gold Rush show back in, what would that have been, May of last year? About a year ago they worked well together. So running it back here, same result. Carmelo wins. Good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what Corbin can do on SmackDown. He might just be a stepping stone for other people, and that would be a bummer. I mean, he's been around for so long now. He's almost 40 if he isn't already. He's not going to be like their next world champion, but this is the most entertaining Baron has been since those bum-ass Baron Corbin days 3 years ago, and even that was short-lived. I think there's some real longevity with this side of Corbin, and hopefully they can kind of keep him interesting and make him even more interesting going forward on SmackDown. The next Queen of the Ring first-round tournament matchup, Jade Cargill, one half of the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, taking on PIper Niven. Now, this was a match I thought might be a disaster. I like PIper Niven. She's good. Jade Cargill, we don't really know how good she is yet. That match at the pay-per-view was good and I enjoyed it, with the Kabuki Warriors against Cargill and Bianca Belair. But there was that one rough stretch where she didn't look all that great. She looked completely lost out there, did Jade, and that was not good. So I thought this might be a fucking disaster. They actually went in there and had a very fun match. Granted, it was a fairly basic match, but I thought they had the crowd into it. They pulled off some impressive spots. It was exactly what it needed to be. She was impressive. PIper Niven playing her role perfectly well. She's not going to be someone I think they ever put the belt on, like the Women's Championship, but she can go in there and work well with people like Rhea, who she had a lot of great matches with in NXT UK. Bianca, we've seen her in Bianca before. Maybe at some point, Nia Jax, who knows? That might be a decent match. But her and Jade also here delivered. I thought it was a really fun match. Basic match, again, in terms of how it was worked, but you need basic. You can't have her go out there and have a 17-minute match. First of all, in the first round would be dumb for Jade Cargill. Piper's not really much of a threat. This was perfect. I thought it was exactly what it needed to be, like I said. She passes Bianca on her way out. Bianca's on her way to the ring for her Queen of the Ring first-round tournament match against Candice LeRae. Now, I don't know if they've had a main roster match, actually. Candice just turned heel. Bianca's never been a heel so far in the main roster. So I don't think they would have had a match on the main roster yet. I know they had matches in NXT. That was a long time ago. So they had a nice little match here. Candice looking good, working over the knee of Bianca. That's going to be a story, I think, in this tournament. Bianca winning decisively. No surprise there. Candice selling the KOD very, very well. So good match. Again, right result. I saw Candice trending. Oh, use Candice LeRae better, dude. There's a million people in this company, and I like Candice a lot. There's a lot of people in this company, AEW, that deserve opportunities. They're just giving spotlight to a lot of great women right now. If it wasn't Candice, it would be Bianca getting buried, and people blaming, oh, how is Bianca getting buried? This shit happens all the time. It is what it is. At least she's even on the fucking show, so I appreciate that. Tama Tonga and Angelo Dawkins might have been the weakest match of the show, but it wasn't bad, though. I thought they had a perfectly fine match. Tama Tonga winning, as he should have. His first singles match here in WWE on TV. It was supposed to be Bobby Lashley as Tonga's opponent, but he pulled out due to a medical issue. He was injured during training, we were told by Nick Aldis earlier in the week on SmackDown, on social media, before SmackDown. So I don't know if he's actually hurt. I think so, because why book him in the tournament in the first place? They really should have put Ford in there. People saying they probably didn't want to beat Ford. Dude, they have never had an issue before protecting Montez Ford. I like Dawkins, don't get me wrong, and the match was fine. But like Montez Ford is the one that can really go out there and shine. He would have gained more from even losing here than not being in the match. They're not protecting him for shit. They have no plan for fucking Montez Ford. Clearly right now they should. He should have broken off on his own years ago. But they clearly don't. So this was a quick, easy win for Tama Tonga. Whatever. Decent match. Orton taking on AJ Styles, a familiar foe in the main event. Another King of the Ring first round tournament matchup. Good stuff here. Not overly exciting because they had AJ working over the leg of Orton for a long time. It was a pretty long match, but it was solid, well worked, exactly what you would expect from these two. And a good finish with AJ going for the Styles Clash. Orton gets out. Not out of that. That would have been fucking amazing. But he just was like setting it up, and then Orton came out of nowhere with the RKO. Pinned him. 1, 2, 3, wins clean, and that was it. They went off the air pretty quickly after that. But it was a good match. They've had a million matches since 2017, 2019, but they always work well together. No complaints here. So a very wrestling-heavy edition of SmackDown compared to usual, which it should be. I mean, the King and Queen of the Ring tournament should be dominating these shows. And they did on this show, and I thought it worked out well. Now, the two tournament matches that were excluded from SmackDown that we knew ahead of time would not be on the show, it's not like I was looking forward to them and they didn't happen, were LA Knight and Santos Escobar in a King of the Ring first-round tournament match, and Michin versus Tiffany Stratton. Now, as I speak right now, those matches actually happened yesterday at the house show last night. So, as you would expect, LA Knight beating Escobar. They set that up on SmackDown last week, so I thought it was weird that that match got bumped, but Tama Tonga's in-ring debut, you're not going to bump to a house show. Orton and AJ, you're certainly not doing it at a house show. And the other one was, what was the other matchup? Man, I talked about it. Oh, Hayes and Corbin. I actually liked that match a lot, so I'm glad they didn't bump that either, because Hayes is like the new fresh face. Knight and Escobar have been there. It didn't really matter that it didn't happen on SmackDown, so not that big of a deal. But yeah, LA Knight advancing and then Tiffany beating Michin on Saturday. So the other two matches on the Raw side are happening tonight, I believe, in Georgia, I want to say. I think it was Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I think it was last night, and tonight it's in Georgia. It's going to be Kofi Kingston and Rey Mysterio. And then the other match was... What was the other match? Asuka was supposed to wrestle. She got pulled. Oh, Vega and Shayna Baszler. That was the other match. Another two first-round matches happening tonight at the house show. You can probably predict who's going to win those. But a good show on SmackDown on Friday. Wrestling heavy. Kicking off Cody's next challenger build for King and Queen of the Ring. Not a big fan of the whole double belt bullshit, like I said. I did not like that. We'll see how they intend to handle that. I'm kind of skeptical, but we'll see. But good stuff from SmackDown on Friday night. Thank you guys for checking out my review of the May 10th, 2024 episode on a rare Sunday review. We should be back to Sundays, or Saturdays rather, next week. So we've had a lot of content going up here on the channel in the last week. Interviews, obviously the Q&As, excerpt stuff, the usual stuff, the full WrestleRant radio episode on Friday. Hashtag GSM for GM, stuff like that. But yesterday, because I was gone, I pre-taped some stuff. So I did my Ronda Rousey book review. I finished that up, audible version earlier in the week. So I did a book review, and people were talking about, not my review, but the book itself. The book came out over a month ago, but only now people are talking about it, and excerpts from the book. So I reviewed that even before people were talking about it, and I put it up yesterday. So check that out from last night, and my Dark Side of the Ring review, the 1000th edition of WWE Network and Chill, available right now on the channel, breaking down the Black Saturday edition of Dark Side of the Ring. So check that out. We'll be back to SmackDown review on Saturday and SmackDown Lowdown on Sunday, because we're not getting the WCW documentary until closer to... what is it? Something closer to June 4th, I think they're doing it, is that Who Killed WCW documentary, so that kicks off on that Tuesday, and we'll be back to doing, SmackDown Lowdown reviews on Sunday, I'm not sure, but in the meantime, check out that other content from the channel in the past week. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.